big, Marshall state where they can have, still have this capitalist economy, and they can import stuff in better and all that stuff. But I just don't think it's going to happen that way. So,
what do you think will happen? Will they succeed in at least setting it up?
Who knows? I don't. More and more I go down this path, I know less. I can't really project far to the future anymore. I find, it's seems to be somewhat of the process of this ayahuasca and tuning into this way of looking at the world is not necessarily. I don't really have any of these fears about China taking over or this new world order and all that stuff.
Right.
I think we are entering into a new world order, but it's not what people think it is.
I remember hearing, I think it was Ian Lungo before he passed away, of course, back in 2004 or 5, might have been earlier as well. He was talking about the structure of what the Illuminati, the New World Order, that they're setting up a structure that actually later on is going to benefit a more, yes, if you will, civilized, people, if you will. That doesn't necessarily mean that we won't have to go through a very difficult period, of course, as this going in and going through. But the initial kind of idea was pretty interesting, that this is something that is actually coming down, so to speak, from a higher level, and the need, if you will, for a borderless society or unification on a few different levels are much needed. Are there really people around anymore that want to have wars between nations? If we look at it, nations has been set up by the same people that are now setting up these unions.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think we're all ultimately working together, even if we're working what seems to be on opposite sides. And I think it's all climbing to some kind of unity, and I think it's interesting because Juan Flores, so here's this shaman in the Amazon, this ancient lineage and stuff, who is, very clearly spells out, the globalization as part of the whole plan. And, he talks about, the world coming together under one law, and that law will be the law of humility. And, I think that's, so all these planning for this, getting in borders, all these New World Order things, ultimately will fill into that greater divine plan. Which, it makes sense if it was based around humility, because then we could probably all work together a little better. Yes,
indeed. Okay, why don't we do like this, Jim? We have so much more to talk about. I do want to talk about, some of the mounds around Manitoba, get into talking about, of course, more about Juan Flores and what he's kind of been involved in and how you met up with him, so forth. I want to talk more about shamanism and ayahuasca, what type of experiences you potentially might have had, if you want to share those, of course, and a little bit more like that. But I want to leave the last few minutes here in the first segment so you can give out any websites that you want to, and potentially highlight, something else that you want to point people in the in the direction of, so to speak.
Well, okay. Well, you already mentioned our website for our gnosis.tv, and then I have a bunch of stuff on our YouTube site, so that's youtube.com/gnosistv or youtube.com/data world data, DADA world and then DATA. So there's a bunch of stuff there, and then and I know you mentioned before, but I'm a big fan of Jake Coetzee's work, and his most recent work is, we've been spending some time together, and it seems we're kind of syncing up a bit.
Yes.
And so his most recent post on the Winnipeg or the Manitoba Legislature as a Temple of Galactic Center is quite powerful stuff, and so he's a Run Do Not Walk. I don't know how the rest of the site goes.
I think it's .blogspot.com, I think.
Yeah, and then also, if you listen to us and we're talking about Juan Flores and ayahuasca, I'd highly recommend going there and to his center in Peru, and that's mayantiyaku.com. So MAYANTIYAKU.com. 10AUG2008.com. So that's I don't know, that's probably around it.
Okay, I also want to mention that I will have, as regular listeners know, I will have many of these websites linked up from our information page in relation to this interview, so you can find the links that Jim has mentioned easily and continue and carry on from there. But we're going to continue talking more with Jim now in the members section. So
Good.
with that, thank you very much, Jim, for joining us here for this first segment. Stay with us. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. We are going to continue our conversation with filmmaker Jim Sanders about ayahuasca, the rituals, healing, shamanism, and his teacher Juan Flores in our member section. This is a fascinating and very interesting second segment as we dive further into the properties of ayahuasca and talk about the experience and the contact or communication with the plants. We talk more about the changes and the energies coming into the planet at this time and the importance of purging ourselves, both spiritually, psychologically, and physically. So don't miss this excellent continuation. Click on subscribe on our front page at redicecreations.com and tune in, and do take advantage of our member section. We have a lot more material waiting for you there. Thanks to Fredrik Palmgren behind the controls. This is Henrik. We will talk more after this break.